didn't see you there. Actually, I knew you were coming. I set you over there. Do you remember when we felt comfortable laying our face on communal surfaces or surfaces in general? I miss those days. Let's wake it up a little bit. So, midday, and we're struggling, maybe a little snoozy. We are going to wake up our core and wake up our brain with a little bit of balancing. I am super stoked on this quick practice that we have here today because core and balance are two things that I adore. I think they are fantastic, and connecting with the core is something that not only helps us from a strength standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, and an energetic standpoint, but it also helps us from a psychological standpoint. So when we are more connected to our very center, this place, our gut, that is where our motivation comes from, it's where our confidence comes from, it's where our intuition comes from, trust your gut. When we connect to it physically, then we are able to connect to it a little more psychologically, existentially, and there is a lot to be said for that. So we're going to connect to our core, and we are going to use our desk as a prop today. Now, first, you're going to step up to the front of your desk and just like a foot away or so, and I want you to just kind of take into account how your core feels. And then from here, you're gonna place your hands on the table or on the desk and press down and notice what happens to your core. Even if you're not thinking about it, your core will fire. It will turn on. So try it again. So stand and then press down into the table, core on automatically. It's one of the reasons why weight bearing on our hands is such a powerful tool for core work. There are all of these connections, and from a system standpoint, as soon as we bear weight in our hands, then this energy goes up through our arms, back to our scapula. We're going to talk about our scapula quite a bit today, and then it comes forward into our sternum, which shares connections with our core. So as soon as we weight bear on our hands, core is kicking in. So one more time, go ahead and press down actively so you feel that core fire up. And then keeping this active press, keeping your arms straight and strong, we're going to do something called serratus puffs. So your serratus anterior is a muscle that is on your side body, kind of right underneath your armpit. If you've ever seen a gymnast or somebody who's really ripped, then it looks like little teeth going along the side. That's your serratus anterior. It's serrated like a saw, like a knife. That's why it's called that. So here, we're going to turn this serratus anterior on. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to press the table away, press the desk away to move our shoulder blades apart on the upper back. And then keeping that serratus turned on, have your shoulder blades come back on your upper back. Not squeezing them together, but trying to get them to be neutral on your upper back. And then press them apart and come back together. One more time, press them apart. And then neutral scaps, but see if you can still feel this firing on your side body underneath your armpit. And then with this firing, your core is still going, you're pressing down actively, rise up on the balls of your feet, and then come back down. Again, lift and come back down. Now check in with your neck. So my head was dropped. I'm gonna bring my skull in line with my scapula, with my shoulder blades, with my scapula. And I'm still moving up and down. And I'm trying to feel this side armpit area firing as well as my core as I'm lifting up. And this in a very sneaky way is kind of prep for a handstand. Okay, stand up, take a moment, check in with how your body is feeling when you're not weight bearing in your hands. And then we want to recognize the difference in what's turning on when we are getting into that weight bearing position. So place the hands down, couple serratus puffs here, and we're going to walk the feet back a little bit, but we want our shoulders still over our wrists. So less important what your feet are doing, more important what your shoulders are doing. So my shoulders are over my wrists and my arms are straight and strong. Then I'm gonna find that serratus puff. So I'm gonna puff up the space in between my shoulder blades and then neutral shoulder blades on the upper back. Notice my elbows stay straight the whole time. Puff that space and then come back. One more time, serratus puff. You feel those sides really engaging, and then as you bring the shoulder blades back neutral on the upper back, you're still engaged. Step your right foot back, step your left foot back, step your left foot in, step your right foot in. You can be flat-footed here or up on the balls of your feet, whatever's comfortable. 3 serratus puffs. 1, 2, 3. Come back to neutral scat. Step your left foot back as far as you can, keeping your shoulders over your wrist. Right foot back, right foot in, left foot in. One more time each side. 3 puffs. Puff, puff, and puff. Neutral shoulder blades, right foot back, right foot up, left foot up. 3, puff, 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 left foot back, right foot in, left foot in, heels down, stand up tall. So we're starting to connect to that core. We're feeling this stabilizer of our scapula. So our serratus, it's known as the boxing muscle. So one of the things it does is it helps our shoulder blade protract or come forward. So if you were gonna throw a punch, then your serratus is going to help bring that shoulder blade forward and allow you to come into that protracted position. But it's also a stabilizer of the scap. And so we want it to be strong, especially when we're in weight bearing on the hands. Now, from here, we're going to get into a little bit of balance. So for this first balancing move, we're going to also be working the glutes. So we're going to turn on our glutes. And when I think about core, I include the glutes in the core. So I don't think about it as just this little panel of abs in the front. Your core is basically from the tops of your shoulders wrapping around to the bottoms of your glutes. And everything in there is woven into this awesome cylinder of power. And when it's connected and when things are firing when we want them to, then really cool things can happen. So we want to activate our glutes and make sure that they are engaged as well. So I'm going to get into that position where I've got neutral shoulder blades on my upper back. My skull is in line with my scapula. My arms are straight and strong. And then we're going to bear weight on our left leg. And I'm gonna slide my right toes back as far as they'll go while keeping a neutral spine. So what we don't wanna see is we don't wanna see the rib cage move forward and the pelvis tilt. So everything is staying really neutral here. And then I'm going to, using my right glute, I'm gonna lift my right foot off the ground. It's not this big motion because then I'm gonna tip in my pelvis. So I slide back first and then squeeze lift. Right foot down and back in. We've got 4 more just like that. So slide the right foot back, lift, squeeze. Super compact and efficient movement. You can also take your left hand back on your sacrum, and you can kind of use your left fingers to connect to your glute to give it a little sensory feedback. Slide back and then lift, and you feel that glute turn on. Right foot down and in. 2 more. Slide it back and up, down, and in. Last time, slide it back and up, down, and in. Make sure that the hand that's on the desk is actively pressing down, because remember, that's going to help us keep that core activated. It's another way, it's another channel to keep that core live without necessarily having to focus on it quite as much. So now left hand is down, pressing. So I'm nice and active here. My torso is extended over the desk a little bit because I want that shoulder over my wrist. And then my right hand can go to my sacrum and my fingers can kind of connect to this left glute a little bit. Core is on, my head is in line, so I'm not dropping my head down here. Head is, or neck is nice and long. Slide that left foot back and lift, squeeze. Foot down and in. We've got 4 more. Slide it back and lift, down, and in. Slide it back, squeeze, down, and in, back, up, down. Last time, slide it back, lift, squeeze, down, and in. Beautiful. Stand it up. We're gonna add on a little bit. So now we want that same kind of like compact feeling that we had in that really controlled motion when we go into this kind of bigger balance move. So for this bigger balance, I'm gonna have my left hand ready on the desk. This is a little bit of my stabilizer, so it's helping me in case I need assistance with my balance. And then I'm going to be balancing on my left foot. So my right hand is going to come down to my left thigh, and then if I want to, I'm hovering this right leg. Can also keep those tiptoes down. And then I'm gonna stand up from here. So imagine that whole compact core is moving as a unit, and I'm trying not to leak energy in any direction. So I'm going to come down, reach that right leg back, and then stand it up. When you stand it up, it's that left glute is going to help lift you up and extend through this leg. Down, right hand to the left thigh, and up. We've got 3 more. Down, and up. 2, and up. Last one, and up. Switching to the other side, so my right hand is what's going to connect with the desk. My left hand is going to go to the top of that right thigh. I want to make sure that my right hip doesn't kick out at all. I'm going to squeeze everything in toward midline, and I'm keeping this whole cylinder intact. So bend your right knee first, flex in your right hip. So we want some triple flexion. Ankle, knee, hip. Everything is bent a little bit. And I know that I'm flexing in my hip because my knee is behind my toes. If I wasn't flexing in my hip, then my knee would come in front. So really try and get that flexion in your hip. And then from here, I extend that left leg back. Left hand comes to the top of the right thigh. Right hand stabilizes as much or as little as you need on that table. And then right glute squeezes to lift up. And down. And up. This posture is bent knee airplane. Three more. And up. Facing to the left, so your right side is at your desk. We've got one more move that we're going to do here. So we're going to come into a side lunge to a catch balance. And this is a great move for a variety of reasons. One thing, when we're sitting all day, our inner thighs is a space that can get really tight. So side lunge is an excellent move to mobilize that area and just kind of get everything loosened up a little bit. And then when we go from side lunge to a catch balance, what we're doing is we are really working on the muscle firing of our glutes, because we are going to go into a side lunge where our left glute is what's working. We push up, and then when we catch, we have to have that right glute fire. So this is really great neurologically to help with steadiness and balance and adaptability on your feet. So here, I'm going to step out. It doesn't have to be a crazy wide step out. Step out, and maybe my fingers go to this left hip crease, so I really emphasize flexing in my hips. Now, another thing that tends to happen as soon as we get into a side lunge is people want to look up like this. So I'm going to encourage you to look down at the floor and keep your neck in line with your spine. And then from here, I'm going to push up and catch with my knee up, doesn't matter how high, and my right hand is right here, ready for stability. Now, you might notice that that right hip wants to kick out. Squeeze that right glute to keep everything in line. Step out with control, hinge, and find that side lunge, and then lift, catch, balance. Going back and forth. And this is a big movement, it's a big movement pattern, but energetically, when everything is coming from and connected to the core, then this movement becomes much more controlled, and it becomes a much stronger movement. Let's get 2 more. And go ahead and let that left foot come down. And then we are going to switch to the other side. So I will take it over here. Now my left hip is at my desk, and I'm going to lunge out to the right. So here, my nice long cylinder of my core is all in line. I'm getting this nice little stretch, and then I catch. When I catch, try and keep your rib cage harnessed. So don't let those ribs fly out. Keep everything nice and locked in. Side lunge to catch. And if you can, try a couple times to catch without relying on the table, especially once you kind of get the movement. Because what we don't want is to over-correct because we know that the desk is there and rely on it too heavily. You're really trying to catch yourself with that left glute. And another way that you can kind of do this is to place your left hand on that hip, because that's going to give it feedback of like, stay in, engage. Let's go 5, 4, 3, control on that step out, 2, and 1. Right foot down. And that is our quick core and balance movement practice for the day. I hope that you feel a little more energized, a little more connected to your core, and therefore maybe a little more connected to your purpose for the day, to your motivation for the day. And I look forward to seeing you soon.